What's up guys, my name is Fran and welcome back to the channel. This channel is all about cinematography, video gear, making better YouTube videos, and everything in between. So if you're into that kind of thing, consider subscribing. Okay, so in today's video, I wanted to talk about this guy here. This is the Viltrox EF EII adapter. Now I'm a Sony shooter, and like most Sony shooters, I do use some Canon glass, most namely this guy here. This is the Sigma 18-35 lens. Now this is a super famous lens. It's a zoom lens, but it's as sharp as a prime lens. It has a fast 1.8 aperture, and it also has a really short focus distance, so it's almost as good as a macro lens. So a ton of people all over use this lens, but to use it on a Sony camera, you do need an adapter. Now the more popular adapters are the Metabone Speed Booster, as well as the Sigma MC11 adapter for Canon FE to Sony E-mount lenses. I meant to say cameras, Sony E-mount cameras. Now the thing about the Metabone Speed Booster, that thing is really expensive. It retails for about $700, and the MC11 adapter isn't the cheapest thing in the world, but it's considerably cheaper at an MSRP of $249. But I was able to find it on eBay for about around $210. Now this guy here, this is pretty much a bootleg speed booster, or a bootleg Metabone speed booster. Now this thing, as you can see, if you actually look at it, it does have a little bit of glass in there. Now if you don't know what a speed booster actually does, I'm not really going to get into it in this video, but basically what it's capable of doing is reducing your crop, or reducing your focus. Sorry guys, I kind of lost my train of thought while recording the video. So pretty much a speed booster does three things. Number one, it's an adapter. So in this one in particular, it adapts Canon glass to a Sony body. Number two and three are pretty much one and the same. Number two, it is a focal length reducer. So in turn, it reduces the amount of crop you would normally get out of your lens, if there is any. For example, if you have a camera like the GH5, your 2.0 crop will go down to about a 1.5 crop, depending on the speed booster that you're using. And then that kind of leads us to number three, where you actually the speed boost part, where you're actually going to be getting more light onto your sensor coming from the lens. And the way they do this is basically by reducing the flange distance, which is the distance between the back of the lens and the actual sensor, and that actually allows more light. I forgot the actual rule, but it's a rule that basically the longer the distance, the more light you lose. Okay, so let me try that one more time. So there's a Canon adapter here in the front, and then a Sony E-mount adapter in the back. So I can simply just stick this on here, and then I can put this in my Sony camera, and we are pretty much good to go in shooting with this lens. Now, if you're wondering if this thing is any good or not, I'm going to save you some time if you don't want to watch the entire video. This thing is absolutely terrible. It does not work. Now, this isn't my first Viltrox speed booster. I'm not going to blame it on Viltrox. I think this is just a bad product. I do also own the Viltrox what is this? This is the Micro Four Thirds adapter. So I use this with my GH5, and this thing works absolutely perfectly. It works like a dream. So, after picking this up and knowing it does work and it's just as good as a speed booster, I only assumed that the Viltrox EF EII adapter would be the same, but it is absolutely not. There's a few issues with it. Number one, the actual aperture, it does reduce the aperture, so this lens is capable of going down to 1.2. However, the autofocus system just doesn't work. Now, it works sometimes. Sometimes when you boot up the camera, it turns on, it works, and it's all good, but most of the time, it's kind of hit or miss. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The other issue that I actually have with this adapter is sometimes it makes my camera not boot for up to 30 seconds. So quite often, I will run into issues where, I plug it in. If the camera, most namely the A7 Mark III, is in video mode, so if it's, has a little film strip on it, in that mode, the camera will not boot for about 30 to 40 seconds. And even when it does boot, the autofocus system won't work, and also the aperture control will not work. When booting it in manual mode, it does work, but then, when switching back over to video mode, you run back into the issue where it no longer functions. Now, like I just mentioned, the other issue with this thing is actually the aperture control. So the Micro Four Thirds one actually has a manual aperture control switch, which is really nice. But this one doesn't have that, and quite often this adapter will stop working with aperture control. So you will no longer be able to control the aperture on a lens like this one as well. So I just really wanted to make this video because when I was shopping for this thing, I actually couldn't find any proper videos or anybody telling me how bad it really was. I only found a couple of videos on YouTube, so I figured I wanted to make this one, just get it out there and let people know that this is a terrible adapter. If you're gonna go for an adapted lens, either go for the Sigma MC11 or go for the Metabone Speed Booster. Stay away from the Viltrox EF EII EFE2 adapter. Now, in case anybody's wondering, I did get a chance to update the firmware. I saw absolutely no improvement. I actually reached out to Viltrox as well as the eBay seller that sold this to me, and they ended up giving me pretty much all my money back. I think I ended up paying 20 bucks for this thing. Originally, I paid 109 euro. At the time, I believe it was about $140 for this adapter, and that's why I picked it up, because it was so appealing, because it was cheaper than the MC11, and it was also cheaper than the way cheaper than the Metabone Speed Booster. But if you are interested in something like this and you end up getting it, I think it does work pretty well if you're going to use all the controls manually. So if you have a manual lens, something with manual aperture, manual focus, then a lot of that doesn't really matter, and you are still going to get some nice focal length reduction, because the actual speed booster part of this thing does work, and it works really well. And also you are going to get that extra stop of light, or I believe it's 2 stops of light. So like I said, this 1.8 went down to a 1.2. And in case you guys are wondering about some of the B-roll that I ended up putting over this this video, I did end up putting my A7 Mark III in APS-C mode, and I also ended up using the clear view zoom to actually bring it in. But if you don't use either one of those, you end up with really heavy vignetting, because this is more so made for the A6500 or smaller sensor cameras. It's not really made for something like the A7 Mark III. I do kind of wonder though if this thing does work with the A6500 any better, or the A6300. I no longer have that camera. I used to have it not too long ago, but ended up going with the full frame camera. So maybe this just doesn't work with the A7 Mark III. If you guys know anything about it, let me know in the comment section below. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this video. I don't want to make it too long. But yeah, if you're an A7 Mark III owner, at least stay away from this adapter. Once again, guys, my name is Fran. Thanks for checking out this video, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Okay, peace.